Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Exit to Excel podcast. I'm your host, LETONYA. They call me LT, and I'm a career strategist and HR leader. And if you're watching this podcast, someone who's probably been exactly where you are, navigating career transitions, job searches, and all the challenges that come with building a career you actually love. So, this podcast is where we turn career setbacks and stagnation into strategic comebacks and come ups with real talk, practical tools, and the athlete championship mindset you need to succeed. Now, here's a statistic that will blow your mind. Did you know that 85% of jobs are filled through networking? Yet, only 29% of us leverage networking. Now, one of the things that absolutely pains me is when I hear someone say that they are spending 7, 8 hours a day filling out applications online. And despite the little results that they get, zero to little results they keep doing it. I don't get it. Now, for those of you that are networking, you're merely periodically reaching out to people, letting them know that you're in the job market, and to let you know if they hear of anything or if there is someone that they can connect you to. If you can't say ouch, say amen, okay? Because I know there's a lot of you out there because I talk to you all the time. So, look, I get it. Networking gives us anxiety and it makes us want to break out in the cold at a cold sweat at the thought of having to ask someone for help with our job search or career change. Or we've had a bad experience or two with networking, and it makes us believe that networking is ineffective or very transactional. So you'd rather sit in front of your computer submitting 100 applications online rather than having meaningful conversations. But here's the deal. The thing that separates the professionals who get referred to their dream companies from those that stay on the bench are those that are networking like athletes and not participants. They understand that networking isn't about taking, it's about building authentic relationships that serve everyone involved. So, if you've been following our Play to Win, Stop Applying, Start Competing series, then you know we've built your personal brand, your winning target strategy. We've worked on our brag book, our championship resume, and last week we worked on our LinkedIn player profile. But I will tell you, out of all of those things, your network is your greatest career asset, and why I am so excited about this episode and so passionate about the topic. Because today we're transforming your approach to networking from awkward small talk and meaningless emails and DMs to strategic relationship building that makes people want to help you succeed. A networking approach that doesn't just connect you with people, it makes you the obvious choice when opportunities arise. So, before we get in today's episode about championship networking, I want to acknowledge and celebrate the people who watched last week's episode about the LinkedIn profiles and have been making some of those transformation to their profiles and starting to see some traction and some reaction. Yay for you. Thank you for sharing your experiences and your changes and your successes. Keep them coming. I'm so glad to hear it. And again, just reach out if you have any questions on that, but you're on the right track. So kudos to you. So now let's hit up some Ask LT questions that are perfect for today's episode about networking, because I know I often get questions and comments about networking. So these are exactly what we're going to be talking about today. Jessica asked, LT, I hate networking events. They feel so fake and everyone's just trying to use each other. How do I network without feeling like a fake or a user? Jessica, you're describing old school networking and it is hella awkward. Job search athletes network by giving value first and building genuine relationships. So today we're going to completely reframe what networking means. So stay tuned and thank you for your question. Darren asked, LT, I'm an introvert and the thought of networking makes me want to throw up. How can introverts be good at networking? So, Darren, some of the most successful and effective networkers I know are introverts. And it's because they leverage their natural listening skills and their preference for deep, more personal conversations than just menial, superficial small talk. So today I'm going to cover some introvert friendly networking strategies that actually play to your strengths. So thank you for your question. Last one, Contessa. Contessa asks, LT, I've been unemployed for 6 months and I'm tired and embarrassed to tell people I'm job searching. So I'm sure it is affecting my networking. How do I get over it? So, Contessa, that is so real. And I think a space that all of us have been in at one point or another where our self esteem is low, our confidence is low, and we just don't have that energy to be able to present ourselves in our best light. And unfortunately, it is sabotaging your networking and your comeback. But we're going to transform how we think about your situation and give you some scripts that will position you as available talent and not a desperate job seeker. So stay tuned. So keep those questions coming for Ask LT. Hit me up on my social media. That is Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, Exit to Excel, and also on YouTube. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. What are you waiting for? So now let's get into our network championship playbook. Okay, so when I think about my own networking journeys, every major career breakthrough or milestone I've had have come through relationships and not so much applications. And even my recent transition from corporate to entrepreneur is a result of networking. Now, for those of you that know me personally, you've probably heard me talk about my recent networking experience that completely changed my mindset, my thinking, and my career trajectory, a real game changer. So, when I was laid off in October, my immediate thought was, okay, I got to look for another job in corporate America, like most people do, right? And since it was in October, going right into the holiday season, I figured I would just go ahead and take the rest of the year off to kind of, rest my brain and relax, clear my mind so that I could start my job search with vigor at the beginning of the year. So what happened over the next few months was as I'm walking Rocky in the neighborhood, I was having so many conversations with people about my situation, my journey. So for me, I wasn't embarrassed to tell people that I had been laid off because, again, my job was eliminated. It wasn't that I was discarded, so I didn't take it personally. And having gone through it 4 times, it helps me think that way. So I was telling everyone that I was laid off. Well, people were readily sharing information with me and connecting me with different people and opportunities. So for example, one of the first conversations I had was with my neighbor and found out that she had a background in HR, but she was currently doing fractional CEO work. And I was like, oh, tell me more. And so then I was like, well, you know what? Maybe I don't have to go back as a full-time employee. Maybe I can pursue fractional HR work. So I started looking into that. I then had a conversation with a neighbor who I found out was an executive recruiter. We went and had coffee. She looked at my resume. We discussed my background. She gave me some insight and some tips, and she kept me on her radar for future opportunities. I have another neighbor who works for Corn Ferry, the same thing. Well, over the course of time and different conversations, I'm thinking, okay, well, I don't want to go back to corporate America, period. I want to do my own thing. So I started pursuing doing this podcast. I met my podcast producer who I was introduced to from the receptionist at Rocky's Vet, Rob. I met a brand manager from a woman who was having dinner with her husband down the street at the restaurant. And when we started having conversations. So these are just a few examples of how I didn't go out every day with Rocky thinking, okay, I'm going to go out here and network. I'm going out here and I'm having conversations with people, having genuine connections, telling them about myself, and they just readily want to help me. And that is how networking works. So if you don't take anything away from today's discussion, let this be it. Your network isn't about who you know. It's about who knows your value and wants to help you succeed. These can either be people who have been in your circle for years, either personal, professional, or like me, it can be people that just met me walking down the street with Rocky, right? You never know where that connection may lead to. Okay. And by the way, I would say if you have a dog, that is probably your biggest advantage that you have is your dog because the dog community is real. Okay. And I will say he has definitely been a game changer for me. So let's talk about the five biggest barriers that keep people from networking effectively. And I bet you will recognize yourself in at least three of these. Barrier number one, I don't want to feel fake or transactional. Now, this is a big thing. People hate the feeling of only reaching out when they need something, and they tend to think that networking is only about using people to get something that they want. And honestly, if that's your approach, then it is fake and it doesn't work anyway. And that's not what real networking is about. Barrier number two, I'm not naturally outgoing enough. So here's the secret, you don't have to be an extrovert or naturally outgoing to be great at networking. Again, some of the best successful networkers that I know are introverts who leverage their natural listening skills and preference for meaningful conversations over small talk. Barrier number three, I don't have anything valuable to offer. Now, that is complete BS. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're dropping fries at McDonald's. Everyone has something to offer. You have a point of view, you have a perspective, you have questions, you have your enthusiasm, you have your connections, you have your insights from your own unique experiences. You just haven't recognized it yet. Barrier number four, I don't have time for networking. Look, if you have time to sit up on social media or binge on Netflix or even sit in front of your computer applying for applications and you have time for networking. People think networking requires hours a week or going to events all the time, and it doesn't. Even 15 minutes a week of consistent effort beats 3 hours once a month. Barrier number five, networking is just asking people for jobs. Now, this is a fundamental misunderstanding that makes people not want to network or makes it feel awkward or disingenuous. Real networking is about building relationships that naturally lead to opportunities, not about desperate ask. So again, if you're looking at networking and just connecting with people who can connect you with a job, then you're not going to have a lot of success. It is about building those relationships, and you may not see the realization of a job from that connection until 4 or 5 years down the road. That's just a reality. Okay. So here is some data that should motivate you. A 2023 LinkedIn survey, and nothing much has changed since then, but it shows that 85% of jobs are filled through networking. Yet 49% of job seekers admit that they don't network at all because they feel uncomfortable or they don't know how. But this is what really like blows my mind. Only 7% of job applicants get referrals, yet those referrals make up 40% of new hires. So think about the math. If you are able to get someone to refer you, then your odds just improve dramatically. So let's talk about the hidden job market. So the hidden job market are the jobs that aren't advertised or are not widely known. And there are up to 80% of job openings are not posted publicly. Or if they are, they're posted for an hour or two, they're taken down. Have you ever gone on LinkedIn to apply for a job? Like maybe you got an email saying, hey, these jobs fit your profile. Click here to apply a review. And you go out there and it says that we're no longer accepting applicants. More than likely, they only posted for a few hours to be in compliance with their posting policies. And that job was filled either internally or through networking. So that goes for the jobs that are posted for just a few hours, as well as those that are never posted at all. So for the jobs that are posted and you go out there, you usually see that there are already hundreds and sometimes over 1,000 applicants. So you are competing for those jobs. And again, these are only 20% of the jobs that are available. So when you are networking and approaching this as an athlete, you're actually accessing 80% of the jobs that never see the light of day. Now, another thing, a big thing, and I mentioned this, is the thing that keeps people from networking is the anxiety. Everyone feels nervous about networking, even people who are naturally good at it. I mean, even for me, if I think about, okay, I have to go out here and network, then it does give me anxiety. But for me to just go out here and have conversations with people about what I'm doing, what I'm looking to do, learning about them, then it doesn't feel like work, so to speak. But everyone gets nervous about networking because you have the fear of rejection and looking awkward or even being judged. But here's the mind shift that changes everything. If you stop thinking, how do I ask people for help finding a job, and start thinking about how do I build relationships with people I generally find interesting and helpful, then it changes everything. So again, I think for me, during this period that I was off and going out and walking Rocky, I wasn't thinking, okay, I need to, network with people to find a job. It really was about meeting some very interesting people in my building and in my neighborhood and having these conversations with them where they readily wanted to help me. So that is the difference. So now let's talk about 7 modern networking strategies that actually work. And being in, 2025 in the digital age, our networking strategy has to change to be able to fit the environment that we're in. So I'm going to give you 7 strategies that you can start using immediately. Strategy number 1 is starting with your existing network. So you already know more people than you think. Your old coworkers, managers, classmates, neighbors, the person you met at your kid's soccer practice, even maybe the bagger at Trader Joe's. You know so many people. So one of the simple things you can do is make a list of 20 people you already know and start with them. These are your warm connections. They already like you. Strategy number 2, network laterally and not just up. People think that networking means that you need to reach out and connect with senior executives or even people that are directly hiring, and that's not true. Your peers, colleagues, and people at your level can be your biggest connectors, and oftentimes you'll have more success getting them to respond, and they are more willing to help because they remember what it was like to be in your shoes. Strategy number 3, give before you ask. Now, this is a game changer. Ask how you can help them first. Share an article, make an intro, congratulate them on a new role. According to Forbes, professionals who lead with value report being 32% more successful in their networking efforts. So, for example, you can send somebody an article and say, hey, I just saw this article about so and so topic and thought you'd find it interesting. Or you could say, hey, I know someone working on similar challenges. Would you like an introduction? Another one is, hey, congratulations on your new role. Your insights about whatever industry trend have been really helpful. Just some simple outreaches. And again, you're not directly asking them for a job or a connection to a job, is where you are offering something to them that can potentially be of value. Strategy number 4, consistent low lift check ins. A quarterly email, commenting on LinkedIn, forwarding an article, that is relationship maintenance. That's how you keep the connection warm without being annoying. So the key is consistency and not intensity. 15 minutes a week, again, it beats 3 hours a month. Strategy number 5, LinkedIn optimization for networking. So we talked about headlines last week for your LinkedIn profile. And we talked about how your headline is such important real estate, and it needs to say more than your job title. So for example, instead of saying marketing manager, try marketing leader helping SaaS companies tell stories that convert. So then that way, whenever you are reaching out to people on LinkedIn, guarantee they're going to go back and look at your profile. That is what they'll see. And when you're reaching out to people on LinkedIn, you should always write a customized connection note. And instead of saying, the generic, hey, I'd like to add you to my professional network, you can say, hi, I saw your post about so and so topic. I'm exploring similar work in so and so area, and I would love to connect and learn from your experience. That way, you are more than likely to get a response from that person versus the generic verbiage, I like to add you to my professional network. Strategy number 6, join industry communities. So these are your LinkedIn groups, your Slack communities, your Discord servers, even subreddit threads. Find where your people hang out online and show up consistently with valuable contributions. Strategy number 7, the last one, master the informational interview approach. So the informational interview is just like it says, right? You're connecting with people to get information about their industry, their company, their role, or whatever. So you want to reach out with curiosity and not desperation. You can say something like, hey, I admire the work that you've been doing in so and so area. And I'd love to hear how you navigate your career transition into so and so role or industry. Would you be open for a 15-minute call? So remember, it's not a numbers game in how many people you can connect with. It's about genuine curiosity and relationship building. And quality is always going to be over quantity. So now let's get specific about networking strategies for different situations, because one size doesn't fit all when it comes to networking. When you are unemployed, again, I think a lot of us tend to carry shame around being told that our services are no longer needed. And you tend to be embarrassed about your situation, and you avoid networking when you really need it the most. So instead of thinking, okay, well, I was discarded, nobody wants me, and I'm unemployed and I'm desperate for a job, think, hey, no, I'm now available talent with time to invest in relationships that employed people don't have. So instead of saying, hey, I was laid off and looking for work, you say, I'm in career transition and exploring opportunities in so and so field. It's giving me a chance to think really strategically about my next move. And that's kind of the approach that I took. I didn't even think about it that way when I was having conversation with people in my neighborhood, but that's exactly what I was telling people. Hey, I was laid off and I'm in transition, and I'm kind of thinking through what I want to do next. And people were really open to that and wanted to hear more. So it was very helpful to be able to have those conversations, because it also helped me in my thinking process. Another approach is, instead of asking people, do they know of any openings, say, I'm researching companies that are doing innovative work in so and so area. What trends are you seeing in the industry? Another approach, instead of saying I need a job, say I'm taking time to be really strategic about my next role. I want to find the right fit where I can make a significant impact. And I think people really appreciate and can value that, instead of just being desperate and jumping into the very next thing. You want to take time to find the right fit for you. So those are all very good approaches. So again, if you're unemployed, it's nothing to be ashamed of, especially with all the things that's going on today and all of these people who are being laid off. We're among a lot of company, unfortunately. So the advantage that you have is that you have the flexibility to meet during business hours. You have time to thoroughly research companies and prepare for conversations. You have the availability to attend events and build relationships. And you have the freedom and the time and the space to be able to have fresh perspective without being, mired in current workplace dynamics. I mean, that's huge. So use these advantages because you have the time that employed people don't have. Now, let's talk about networking for introverts because I get it. Introverts don't typically like people. Or they don't like engaging with a lot of people. So sometimes networking can be a challenge for them. But again, they often make better networkers because they are natural listeners and they prefer the more meaningful conversations over just the small talk. So for my introverts out there, focus on one-on-one conversations, skip the large events, and focus on your coffee meetings and your video calls. Use LinkedIn, X, and other industry forums to build relationships. Volunteer for projects where you can contribute your expertise and attend more structured events like workshops and panels and educational events with built-in conversation topics. So for those of you that again, don't like the crowds, you can attend early when the crowds are smaller. You can look for other solo attendees who might appreciate conversation. Remember to use open-ended questions to kind of, keep the conversation going, and it gives a person more of an opportunity to talk. And don't try to, work the entire room. Just pick 2 or 3 people that you might want to connect with. Now, virtual and online networking is really big right now for obvious reasons. You have all these social media platforms, and it actually makes it a lot easier than, maybe it was like 10 years ago. So let's talk about LinkedIn networking. You can engage and network on LinkedIn by commenting on people's posts, from your target connections, sharing valuable content with personalized commentary, joining and participating in relevant industry groups, and using LinkedIn's messaging for warm introductions. For your industry community, again, you can join online groups like Slack and Discord, participate in X and Facebook, attend virtual conferences and webinars. I think there's a conference and or webinar for just about every topic under the sun. You can probably do a Google search if you're a member of any kind of professional associations, even on social media. There's a lot of things you can attend in, and some of them are for very low cost. And you can also engage in online forums and discussion boards. Virtual coffee chats, these are big. Whenever you meet someone, first of all, nothing will ever replace face-to-face interaction. So if you can meet face-to-face, that's ideal. But sometimes when it's not, then opt for a virtual or video call. So the video calls are going to give you an opportunity for a more personal connection. Keep them short, 15 to 30 minutes, and very focused. Come prepared with your questions. Follow up with written summaries and action items. And if you want, it's good to be able to share your screen to be able to show your relevant work or resources. I know I told you, just from walking Rocky down the street, there was a lady, Bina, from Chicago, who was having dinner next door. And at the time, I think I was trying to grow Rocky's social media account. And she told me, oh, my soon to be daughter in law is an influencer. Let me call her so you can speak to her. And she called her. Hannah is in San Francisco. She didn't get her. And Bina was like, hey, now mind you, this is somebody I just met. Bina was like, let me get your number. I'm going to have Hannah call you. Yeah, right. I gave Bina my number. Bina called, texted me the next morning and said, hey, I gave Hannah your information. She's going to be calling you. Hannah then sent me an invite for a 30-minute Zoom call. We got on the Zoom. We were on the call for an hour and 15 minutes. Come to find out, Hannah has a very interesting story. They call her Hannah Bae, HANNAHBAE. And she's a beauty influencer. And she's been doing this for years. She is actually now managing other influencers, and she is a brand ambassador for Bobbi Brown Cosmetics. Just from walking Rocky down the street and meeting Bina, who was sitting there with her husband having a restaurant, led to this connection with Hannah. And she gave me some very good information, and I committed to keep in touch with her. I did. We just had another Zoom call a couple of weeks ago, and I told her, I said, hey, Hannah, whenever I blow up, I'm going to reach out to you, and you're going to, I want you to be my brand manager, and we're keeping in touch. That is what it's about. So again, when you can do these video calls, it would have been completely different, I think, if we had just done a phone call. But when you're able to do the video call, it just allows you to have a deeper, more meaningful connection and conversation. Now, content networking is where you are putting out content that attracts your target network. But you can always engage in other people's content before promoting your own. You can use content to start conversations and build relationships, and you can share other people's work with thoughtful commentary. So that's another way to be able to network, and you can again do that on TikTok or Instagram or LinkedIn. So, as with every episode, I talk about how we can leverage AI, and you can absolutely leverage AI to network smarter and not harder. Now, according to Forbes, professionals who use AI to enhance their networking efforts report being 32% more efficient in securing informational meetings. But the key is using AI as your assistant and not as your replacement. AI is never going to replace authentic relationship building, but it can make networking more efficient and less overwhelming. So, AI tool number one is ChatGPT or Claude. You can use these to draft personalized LinkedIn connection requests, generate informational interview questions tailored to someone's career, summarize someone's LinkedIn profile to identify shared interests before you reach out to them. And you can use them to create follow-up messages that reference specific conversation points. Now, again, you can tell when someone just takes AI outputs at a service and just put it out there. And it's a big turnoff. So don't do that. Again, these tools are meant to assist you. You will have to massage and edit all of these so that it is your voice and is authentic and genuine, but at least you don't have to start from scratch. So these are some ways that you can use it. So a sample AI prompt for one of these would be, help me write a LinkedIn connection request to so-and-so's name, who is a so-and-so at so-and-so company. We both have experience in this common area. And I'm interested in learning more about their transition from so-and-so field to current field, and make it personal but professional. And it will give you an output, but again, you'll want to put your own voice to it. So make sure you do that before sending it out. AI tool number two, LinkedIn's AI powered feature. So as with a lot of these tools, LinkedIn has been coming out with a lot of AI powered features. And the premium membership now offers AI suggested personalized connection messages, job recommendations that show who you might know from the company, AI powered profile optimization suggestions, and automated relation insights. So that's just, from LinkedIn. And I think I talked about this last week in terms of whether premium is worth it. If you are currently seeking a job, I think it's definitely worth it to be able to utilize these types of tools as well as others that I talked about last week. So that's just another example of how AI can help you supercharge your networking. AI tools number three are relationship mapping tools. So tools like Clay and Affinity help you map out who you know and track your connections. It's like your own personal CRM, your customer relationship management tool, but it's owned for your own personal network. So these tools can track your network activity and follow up, identify mutual connections between you and your target contacts, and they can set reminders for you for relationship maintenance and analyze your network for gaps and opportunities. So again, that is Clay and Affinity. AI tool number 4, the last one, are AI powered calendar and productivity tools. And there's a ton of them out there, but a tool like reclaim.ai can auto schedule regular networking follow up so you don't forget. So, again, networking isn't about just reaching out to somebody and it being a one and done. To build real relationships, you need to, you know, maintain it over time, which means that you will reach out periodically. So this tool will allow you to block out time for networking activities, schedule quarterly check-ins with your connections, remind you to follow up after meeting someone new, and track networking goals and progress. But you don't necessarily need an AI tool to do this. You can also do an Excel spreadsheet. I will say that I have a friend, Willie, shout out to Willie. um he really like had his networking strategy down pat, in a spreadsheet, who knew who and that kind of thing. And I've been so impressed with his whole job search strategy, actually, because he's very disciplined and focused, but particularly in terms of how he networked and looking at LinkedIn and seeing who knew who and reaching out. It was really something to admire. And if people didn't respond, then he didn't take it offensively. He just kept it moving. So, something that we all need to think about. But, in the event that you like AI, you like the technology is definitely out there. So, all right. As you know, with every podcast, I give you homework to do for those of you who are serious about upping your job search game. Again, your network can be the thing that transforms your entire career, um, but only if you actually use some of the things that we covered today. And again, a lot of people won't do it. So that already gives you a leg up if you are willing to do it. So, action number 1 for this week is complete your network audit. Make a list of 20 people you already know, former colleagues, classmates, neighbors. Everyone counts. Don't count, just take into account everyone. And then action number 2 is identify what value you can offer. Write down 3 to 5 ways you can help others, resources you can share, introductions you can make, insights you can provide. I think I'm known as being a connector because as I've been talking to people and learning about them and that kind of thing, I like to be able to connect people to one another. So even if it's just that connecting people in your network to other people, that is something as a value. Action number 3 of the next 2 weeks is send 5 to 7 give first messages to existing connections. And then this is, again, give first is where you are readily offering something versus asking for something. This can be in terms of sharing an article, making an introduction, congratulating someone on their achievement. No ask, just adding value. Action item number 4, try one AI networking tool. So I think hopefully all of us are using AI in some form or fashion. But for networking, use ChatGPT or Claude to draft better LinkedIn messages, or set up a relationship tracking system. Again, for the LinkedIn messages, that's for anything on LinkedIn. They give you the standard verbiage, be it, the open to work ring, be it an intro. Don't use those because, again, those are not going to differentiate you out from the crowd. It's not going to make you unique. Customize these messages before you send them out. Action number 5 this month, if you're unemployed, practice your reframed narrative. And if you're an introvert, schedule 2 to 3 one-on-one coffee chats or video calls instead of attending large events. Now, for those of you that want to take a step further, join one online community in your industry and start contributing valuable insights regularly. So, that is it for today. Again, for those who are serious about the job search and approaching this as an elite athlete, you are building relationships before you need them. Your network is your net worth, but it's only if you invest in it consistently. Now, next week, we are getting into interviews and how to interview like a champion because all the personal branding, target market strategy, LinkedIn optimization, networking means absolutely nothing if you can't close the deal when you get in front of the hiring manager and the decision makers. And while most people focus on answering questions correctly, people who know how to play the game and who are getting offers know it is about positioning themselves as the obvious solution to the company's challenges. So, we're going to talk about how to transform you from someone who is merely answering questions the same way Jane, Harry, Lucy, Sally does to someone who makes it impossible not to hire. And I'm also going to cover the interview mistake that most even qualified candidates tend to make that makes them more mediocre. Okay. So, with that, I thank you for hanging out with me. I hope, as with every episode, that you learn something you didn't know before or you're motivated to do something you hadn't been doing before. But remember, building authentic relationships take time. Strategic networking requires consistency. And the truth of the matter is, in today's market, it is only the people who are connected that get the opportunities, while those who are unknown stay unemployed. So, which side of the street do you want to be on? Your career deserves the same strategic relationship investment that you put into everything else that matters to you. So, stop networking like it's 1995. Focus on building those authentic relationships, use AI to work smarter, and give value first before asking. So, with that, continue to play to win, and I will see you next week. All the best.